the 2017 Can-Am Renegade 570 XMR. So I got all the plastics off. I just finished cleaning it. We just got back from a ride in Johnstown. A couple of us. One of us left because it was way too wet and way too cold. It was pretty much raining the whole time. It was still good though. I mean, you can't really have a bad time on an ATV, especially when you don't break anything. Knock on wood. So, this is my quad. I picked it up new old stock. So I saved about $2,000 on it, which was alright. I got it brand new, so pretty much all the riding on it, well, every single bit of the riding was done by me. So I'm not really good at reviews, so I'm going to try and cover pretty much everything that I like and dislike about it. There's not much that I dislike about it. Before I had this quad, I had a 650 Quest, which Bombardier only made for 2 years. A huge upgrade from that to this. Just kind of show you real quick some of the stuff that I was doing with my 2002 Bombardier Quest. Upgrade from that to this. So dislikes. Well, I guess I could start off by the tires that came with it. The tires that came with the quad were 28-inch Mudzillas. I mean, I wasn't really a fan of those. Yeah, because when you look at the tires, you can obviously tell that they're kind of a softer version of the Silverbacks with less aggressive angles on the lugs. Low speeds, they shook a lot. They weren't really comfortable on the road, and obviously if I do both, it's not really fun. Didn't really find it to be too great in the mud either. So I started looking at tires and everything online and came across these Terminators by Super ATV. They seem, well, I mean, at low speeds, they're great. They don't shake the quad at all. They're really great in the mud, for rocks, pretty much everything. They're on 12-inch bead locks. What I will say, though, is about the wheels. As you can see, they're pretty white. On this side, I tend to hit the ruts quite a bit, and they rub a lot. I mean, that kind of sucks, but I guess you ride hard, you gotta kind of pay the price there. Moving on, so those are the tires. Suspension wise, I found that there was a lot of sag when I picked it up. The shocks were cranked right down, and I find that it was bottoming out on a lot of the trails when you have those bumps. When you hit them quite a bit, obviously it bottoms out, and that obviously makes for a very uncomfortable coil ride. Spacers, and those are interesting to set up. Basically, you just compress the coil all the way down, you slip them off. Once they're off, you slip this coil spacer on underneath, and it basically just compresses the shock even more, so it keeps your shocks fully extended. It does give you a much stiffer and much harder ride, but it does give you the constant lift, which is obviously what I was going for. I tend to ride standing up anyways, so I don't really find the stiff suspension to be much of a problem. That's another thing. The handlebars are pretty low when it comes to stock size, especially in seeing I pretty much ride standing up the entire time. So I got a set of 2-inch handlebar risers that are on order. They're not on yet, but they'll sit a little bit higher, which will be nice. Let's see, what else here? When I first bought the quad, I was having a lot of issues with the airbox. I love going through the water. And the stock gasket just was not cutting it. So what I did was I went online. Obviously, I researched gaskets to seal that airbox better. Came across the Outsider Mudding Crew gasket for the G2s. And yeah, you just basically pull the old gasket off, open that up, and then you just slap that one in. And I haven't had any issues with any water coming in whatsoever. I haven't swamped it. Again, knock on wood. I like that horn, the snorkel. Basically, it makes it look, I guess you could say, pretty. Makes it look unique, and everything's pretty much in unison, so it looks a lot better. I like how easy this is to pull off. Basically, just pull on each side there, make your way around. That comes off, and there's your snorkels. That's where I have my tuner set up, so that's the highest point I could get it, and then right underneath that I have the driver for the the halos, the farm mudding halos. Again, I've had those for a while now. I've swamped them pretty much the entire time, and they're still running pretty good. Let's put that back in there. When we come to the Rad Relocate, I was doing a lot of research too when I was going to buy one of these, and a lot of guys were saying that their rads were overheating because they were sitting right in there, which is, I mean, again, I guess the highest point on the quad they could have put it for it to be factory. But anyway, so one of the first things I did is I went and put a Rad Relocate from Wild Boar on the quad itself. The cheapest way to go, they were $3.99 US, so Canadian. They came out to I think about $550 to my door, which was all right. I found out today, talking to another guy who has Wild Boar as well, that they sent him all the wrong pieces, or not the wrong pieces, sorry. They sent him the right pieces to come with the kit, but the rad hoses were all 1 inch, and Can-Am's rad connects are all 7/8 of an inch. So those are all huge, which is actually explains a lot. My rad leaks like nobody's business. I'm constantly filling up the coolant reservoir. Now I know why. Today I found out that all the fittings are all the wrong size. So I got them on order too, so I'll be able to replace them. So I won't have to keep filling up the coolant. I don't know, like a bit with the plate there. Obviously it was a Boar. I don't know, I just kind of wanted to make it obviously unique and more special. So I got Don Makarenko, sorry if I said that wrong there, Don, to make me a plate over at Metalworks there in Kingston. You can look them up on Facebook. Obviously it turned out badass. I really like that with the orange background. And it keeps obviously as much airflow going to the rad as possible because it's pretty much all open, all in the face there and down in the chin and the beard. I'm going to come down to the winch. You can probably tell there's no rope. First person I tried to pull out of the ride there in Johnstown, and my winch rope snapped. Synthetic rope is obviously the way I would like to go. I hate getting frayed and stabbed by this little steel cables. So with that rope, obviously always erring on the side of caution. My rope was rated for 2,500 pounds. I just ordered one that was rated for 8,000 pounds. So obviously the heavier duty the rope, the better off you'll be, the less braking you'll get, which is nice. Another thing I wasn't too keen on, obviously didn't really think about it when I was buying the ATV, but now the next time I do, I will be buying these right off the hop. Is these plastic A-arm guards here. I guess you can buy aluminum ones. These things are, I don't know, like obviously they kind of serve their purpose, but after my third ride, I must have hit something or dragged a lot of mud and basically tore that right off of the A-arms. So now that's kind of exposed. I haven't had any issues with it yet, but obviously it just kind of sucks that it's gone. So I'm going to have somebody basically fab me up a set to make sure they're more resilient and stronger. You're probably noticing a bunch of this chipping stuff here on the bumper. It came black. I like orange, so I just bought a bunch of Plasti Dip. I guess I will probably powder coat this. I wasn't really sure if I'd like it, but can't really go wrong with a $10 can of Plasti Dip. But anyways, yeah, so that's all Plasti Dip. I faked a couple of trees. It's kind of held up, but in some places, obviously, it's peeling off. Trying to look here. I think that basically covers everything. I mean, when you come to the back here, exhaust-wise, the stock one obviously, I don't know, I mean, it kept the water out, so that's good. It didn't really sound that great, so I think going with the RJWC Dual Mud Edition slip-ons was definitely the way to go. Pretty easy to install. Only took about, I think probably about 30 minutes, 45 minutes once I found all the tools I needed. Coming on, obviously they really do well. Thing I noticed as well is that I have to repack these quite often because I do ride in the water quite a bit. Other than that, the exhaust works pretty well. I like the rear trailing arms. Kind of hard to see there, but they're all one piece. There's no holes in them, so obviously it'll be a lot harder to fold them in half. So we come to the diff. I heard as well it's pretty popular for Can-Am rear diffs to have issues with seals. I had to have mine completely resealed. Just recently it was leaving a lot of water in it. That was a pain in the butt. Don't really want to get into it, but the shop that I took it to, the tech at the last place I brought it to didn't remember to take his rag out, and it ended up getting wrapped around the axle and kind of dragged into the transmission. On top of which they never replaced any of the seals, so it just ended up taking on more water and mud. I will never be taking my bike there again to get fixed. That being said, Bay Marine is amazing. They had me fixed up and running, well, within about a week and a half. So again, I have nothing bad to say about them. I will probably be taking my quad there probably until it dies. And even then, I'll just swap the engine out, put something a little bit bigger in there, and away we go. That being said, I have not had any major issues with this quad. It runs great. I love the way it sounds, love the way it handles. Oh yes, about the rack. So the link rack runs basically from this corner all the way to the other corner and basically shapes into a U or half circle or half moon. What I wasn't liking, and I obviously noticed it a little bit late, but they didn't have high enough risers in the back. They kind of sit flush there. So when the rack comes down, it rubs on the plastic, and it left a couple of big rub marks in the plastic, which kind of sucks, but I'll probably be painting the plastics anyways. I did the same thing on this side here. So what I did was I just took the metal frame out from underneath and basically just mounted it in the same spot so it fits my gas can, which is the only reason I kind of need that there, so that I can have the gas can. When I bought the quad, I put the wet sound speakers on there, and it actually worked really great with the wet sound speakers. But obviously when you put an aftermarket exhaust on there, you're not really listening to your speakers as much anymore. Yeah, and that pretty much covers everything I like and don't like. Don't like was, well, next to pretty much nothing. Liked, I mean, obviously I wouldn't still be driving it if I didn't like it. Definitely well worth the money, and definitely looking forward to putting this through some more holes. Thanks for watching.